Hello everyone and welcome back to Cutting Edge Action. I'd like to start this video by giving a big thanks to my coworker Sean for providing the Microtech Ultratech that you're going to see featured throughout this video. I've already returned it, so I won't be handling it here in the studio sections, but I was still able to get a good feel for the knife while I had it and recorded it for the B-roll. So we are going to kick things off here with our budget OTF, which is the Defender Series OTF. From what I've seen, this knife goes for from anywhere from around $40 all the way up to around $70 or $80. And for that money, you can get it in at least three different options for size, and then just about any case color, pocket clip color, and blade color scheme you could want. Now this knife is pretty darn heavy, and the mechanism on this is not the smoothest. The mechanism is very heavy, even with a lot of oil and lubricant applied to it. It just doesn't seem to be the smoothest. It's pretty tough for me to fire, as you can see. The build quality on this guy is questionable. The screws, as you can see, already look like they have a bit of wear on them, which is weird because I have never been inside this knife, so I guess that's just wear from whoever put it together at the factory. The problem with questionable build quality on an out the front knife is that you have something that could become very dangerous. I think if you tried to use this knife to do any real serious work for a long time, it could potentially turn into a ballistic knife, and that would not be a good day for anybody. So I would not recommend a cheaper OTF knife like this for doing real serious work unless you know that it comes from a reputable company. The blade to body ratio on this OTF is actually pretty decent. As you can see, the blade is pretty large. The handles are very big, like I said, and this is a heavy knife, but the blade to body ratio really isn't that bad for an OTF. In fact, it's pretty good. The mechanism in this Defender Series OTF is also basically unproven, and we have no idea how long it's going to last, if it can hold up to any abuse whatsoever, if it could potentially break while you were trying to cut something a little more rigid than just paper, for example. But I really wouldn't trust this knife to do any serious work for any extended amount of time. One thing that I consider a downside that some people might not is that this Defender has a gigantic glass breaker on the back, which also happens to serve as the screw for the pocket clip, as you can see there. Now, the reason I don't like this is because it rides outside of your pocket and it can bump into things. It can be very annoying in that way. And then also, this isn't a spring-loaded glass breaker, so if you were going to try to use this, say, underwater, for example, you would have basically no chance of breaking a window because you wouldn't be able to get any force behind it. It would be like trying to swing a hammer underwater. Whereas the glass breaker on the Microtech is spring-loaded, and you could actually break a car window underwater with it. I consider that a lot more useful of a tool than this solid glass breaker here we've got on the Defender. I also don't like how it's integrated as the pocket clip screw, because it seems to find a way to back out all on its own. Alright, next up, coming in at around $120, we have got the Boker Kalashnikov Otf. This was requested for review, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick one up and check it out and see how I like it. I already have a couple regular Kalashnikovs, so I figured I'd try out the OTF, and I'm very happy with the purchase. This is a really good knife. So the first thing I noticed about the Kalashnikov was just how much lighter it is than the Defender. It is significantly lighter. I would say the Defender is 2 or maybe even 3 times as heavy as the Kalashnikov OTF. The Kalashnikov OTF fits very nicely in the hand. It's got a nice, snappy, smooth mechanism. I think the mechanism alone in the Kalashnikov is definitely worth the upgrade over the Defender. It just makes it feel like such a much more high quality piece than the Defender, and it feels like a tool that would last for a good long time. The build quality on the Kalashnikov is also very good. You can see here in the up close shots that the build quality Boker has done here is really good. The fit and finish of the knife is very nicely done, very nicely painted. Don't mind the little oil spots you see over the knife. That's just because I've kept it nice and well lubricated, as you can see. But the build quality here is just very, very good. The slide is nicely designed for the firing mechanism, and I just really, really like the layout of this knife. You'll probably notice that it is just slightly larger than a standard Kalashnikov. So that's something to note when you're picking this up, is that it is not exactly the same size as the out the side Kalashnikov. One downside to the Boker is that the blade to body ratio is not very good here. You can see we've got a not so big blade, still with a very big handle. At this price point for an OTF, that's kind of to be expected, because I feel like we're still getting a quality mechanism here, but that comes with the sacrifice of not being able to fit as large of a blade inside the case. There is no glass breaker whatsoever on the Boker, which I don't mind at all, because for me, the purpose of an OTF is basically just to be able to get it out quickly with one hand, cut up some cardboard or packing tape, whatever it may be, and it sure comes in handy for that. Last but not least, I know you guys have been anxiously awaiting my take on the Ultratech, and the Ultratech is just an excellent knife. It is very light, but it still feels solid. The whole knife feels like one solid piece, and even when the blade is extended, it still has that rigidity to it, not much blade play at all, and it is just expertly crafted. You can tell that a lot of work has gone into refining the design of the Ultratech. The action on the Ultratech is also just absolutely perfect. It fires every single time out and then back in with no issues whatsoever. In the slow-mo section of this video, I was actually able to count the frames that it took for the Ultratech to fire, and it turns out that it takes approximately 1/30th of a second for the Ultratech to fire, which is 8 frames at 240 FPS. So very cool to see that in slow-mo. Just looks absolutely awesome. The blade to body ratio on the Ultratech is also just great. You've got a nice compact body, and the blade is almost the same size as the body. It's amazing that they were able to fit so much blade into that case. It's very impressive, especially with how snappy and flawless the action is. The design of the Ultratech is rounded out by the spring-loaded glass breaker, which I think is a nice touch on a knife like this, which is meant to be carried truly every day and used every day. It's a very cool knife, and again, I am very thankful to my coworker Sean for letting me take a look at this bad boy. To go ahead and round this video out, I think I want to start by saying when you're stepping up to a higher end OTF, you're getting these 4 things: weight reduction, blade to body ratio, build quality, and reliability. If you want a proven lifetime tool, then the Microtech is the only knife of these 3 that I can recommend time and time again. The Boker definitely still feels like a high quality knife and like it would last a good long time, but the blade to body ratio isn't nearly as good, and the action isn't nearly as smooth and linear as on the Microtech. The Defender, lastly, I don't think I could really recommend to anyone honestly as a tool. If you want an OTF purely for show purposes to take out and, I don't know, open a letter with or something like that, then go ahead and pick up one of the Defenders. But other than that, do not pick up the Defender and intend to take it to work with you every day. It's just not cut out for that task. The Boker, you probably could do that with, and I think it would be just fine. The Microtech, of course, is just going to excel at that. So if you really want the lifetime tool, get the Microtech every time. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and cut the video here. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. Get subscribed if you are not subscribed already, and click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads for me. You can tell me what you thought in the comments down below or make requests for future videos. Until next time guys, this has been Cutting Edge Action.